Okay, I believe it's the last session of the day. We made it so far. Thank you very much for staying behind. I'm just going to keep it short. I know we're a bit out of time. My name is Adrian Artimov. I'm a Chief Commercial Officer with Sommet Education, which is a global leader in hospitality and culinary education, operating some of the best hospitality and culinary schools in the world. Some of it you probably know, Glion, Le Roche, École Ducasse, and some other regional brands. Well, just to spend a couple of moments before I introduce my panel on the context. And today we'll be discussing about module in ongoing professional development hospitality, obviously, in Saudi Arabia. And this is a very nice follow-up from the previous session when we discussed what does it need for a high school student to actually look into hospitality and start building on that type of career pathway. I'll take a moment to give you the context, starting with an important industry fact. Kingdom today has a massive talent gap in hospitality and tourism. The Saudi hospitality landscape is transforming rapidly, creating exciting opportunities and as well urgent challenges. That's an interesting fact. I've heard in the previous sessions different numbers. What I have here in my notes is that by 2030, the industry will have to develop 330,000 new rooms with international and local hotels, of which 65% will be in the upscale and premium segments, which means, and we know for the hoteliers in the room, that typically will require 1 to 2 persons, team members, to manage per room, to manage those properties. So that's a massive challenge on us as educators, on everyone in the room, as the industry key stakeholders, to develop the next pipeline of future talent for the hospitality industry. Very important is that the mission has already started. We have several ministries and tourism authorities that have already done bold moves to promote hospitality education and the hospitality career. And we've been discussing back and forth in some of these panels, and I've heard a lot of feedback about what can the authorities do to create excitement around this industry. When Saudi students interested in hospitality education ask a simple question, how does my future looks like in the hospitality industry? They deserve a clear roadmap with clear and sustainable career progression pathways. It is important for them to understand not just the first step, which happens in a classroom, but what is at the end of the tunnel. How can they progress to the next stage? What else can we offer as educators and also as employers? Being in the industry for already 10 years and also engaging with a group of institutions which are training around 40,000 trainees per year, I often ask myself one simple question: are we actually training in the right fields? Are we focusing on what exactly is needed? Today, it seems that we are focusing massively on training for mid-management and leadership roles. But when you look at the operational positions, I'm talking about F&B, I'm talking about housekeeping, any customer-facing type of role that you would find in a hotel, these are usually overlooked. And this is where the greatest need is. This is not just a numbers game. Very important. It is about creating clear, meaningful career pathways. And it is important for us to drive the change from this stage, from this room, when we go back and speak with the next leaders of the industry. Meanwhile, the Saudi Giga projects, and we have some strong representation in the room, and as well I'll have some in my panel, and as well the international industry players that are looking to expand massively in the kingdom, are observing fragmentation and not collaboration. Everyone does its own thing. There isn't any clear collaboration. There isn't any clear alignment. Everyone fights for the same talent instead of pooling resources and creating a clear talent development strategy. So today, our goal is to explore 3 main things. How do we align the internal and external stakeholders around the idea of collaborating for building the future talent of Saudi Arabia? How do we build and deliver clear professional development ecosystem that can support, actually deliver results and can support businesses and youth? And how can we clearly attract talent, what is the promise as a brand, as an industry that we put in front of our audience. So I'm joined today by 4 distinguished panelists, and I would like to introduce them one by one. I will start with Mr. Imran Changezi, Executive Director, Hospitality Development, and Head of Center of Excellence at Diriyah, bringing over 30 years of global hotel leadership and currently leading the development of 40 hotels and resorts and 18 luxury branded residences. I would like to invite Mr. Mohammed Marghalani, who is our Chief Franchise Asset Officer at Dan Company, a PIF company focused on developing agro-tourist projects with over 20 years of experience, driving hospitality performance in Saudi Arabia and a strong focus on operational excellence and talent leadership. Mr. Paul Stevens, Chief Operating Officer for Accor, managing premium, mid-scale, and economy division across Middle East, Africa, and Turkey, overseeing 200+ hotels and bringing 30 years of global operational leadership to the region. And Mr. Yasser Al-Sharif, a founder and CEO of Sadu Advisory with over 30 years of experience in investment and a strong focus on socially impactful, financially sustainable development models, and today very passionate about education, training and education. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'll start with a very important question as a follow-up from the previous session, and we've been discussing about the career in hospitality and how to make this career exciting. And I would like to start with Mohammed. We go a long way, and Mohammed has been probably among the first Saudi to consider a hospitality career at the time when hospitality as a career pathway was quite taboo. Mohammed, and you've seen a lot. And in the recent years, you've worked for global brands, and most importantly, you've worked on developing the next talent of the industry. And I think a very important question for us today, as a follow-up again of the previous session, what alignment mechanism would ensure education, delivering programs that clearly have an impact, Mohammed, structured career pathways that students can actually visualize from high school, so very early on in their life, up to management positions.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an. Thank you, Adrian, for the great question. First of all, I would like to thank all the initiatives the Minister of Tourism is taking in developing young Saudis. I mean, we are blessed here in Saudi Arabia to have this kind of support, and I'm sure that you don't find it often in many countries. To send their students for hospitality, to study hospitality in a prestigious school, to do their master degree or bachelor degree, sometimes short courses. So we are truly blessed. However, I can summarize the alignment in 3 key alignments. And the first all, it starts from the beginning, from high school. So I have graduated from school in 2000. And at that time, we had many visits from different universities coming over to our school and explaining the majors. Engineer, business, finance, and many different universities, many different majors. At that time, no one came to explain about hospitality and tourism major. And honestly, I didn't know that it even exists. There is a major called hospitality and tourism in 2000. And why I entered this industry? Because my father, he was a visionary man, and he's the one who recommended me to go and study actually in Lyon and study hospitality major. So we have to start from the beginning, from high school, right? To make sure that the people who are entering this industry, they are entering it out of passion, and they understand where are they heading to. Rather than high school, after you finish your high school, you go and apply for several major, and then if you get accepted in hospitality, you will go there, but you don't know exactly what are you going to face. That's why many of these students who go and study, not many, but few, some of them who go and study hospitality major, they come back to the country and they work in different industries, banking, and different major. And I believe this is because they have entered or they have studied this major without much knowledge. So I believe Minister of Tourism other financial, other hospitality institutions, as well as the schools itself. They need to make sure that they spread awareness to those students, to go and do awareness campaign to those students, what hospitality and tourism major will lead them to. If they go and study, what kind of opportunities that they will face, what kind of opportunity that they will see, what is the career path of working in hospitality. I am sure if you ask a high school student right now and you tell them, listen, if you study hospitality, what are you going to work? They will immediately tell you, yeah, cutting onions, offering coffee. I swear, this is in general what's their impression. They don't know that you are studying like management. You're studying finance, marketing, sales, human resources, knowledge management, economics, with the focus on hospitality. So those things, in order to overcome this issue, I believe Ministry of Tourism, along with other international hotel companies, they should go and visit high school and educate them and clear to them the career path. So this is the first alignment. The second one, we are trying to increase the number of Saudization, right? In hospitality. So what are the major or the most department that contains manpower that might increase the number of Saudization? Obviously operations, right? When I talk about operation, you're talking about reception, concierge, food and beverage, culinary, right? And those operations, it needs vocational training program more than obtaining a degree, such as bachelor or master. It's important to have master and bachelor, especially if you are shifting your career, if you're going into hospitality consultation, if you are going toward a certain level of management inside hotels. But the majority of job in hospitality, it depends on experiences. So when you talk about experiences, it means you need vocational training program, short courses, and I believe this was mentioned by my colleague in the first session, right? We need people to really understand the operation and to set expectations. The people who are taking vocational training program, their expectations is they understand after 6 months of vocational training program, what are they going to do? Where are they going to work? And many vocational training programs, it's specialized to certain areas, food and beverage, housekeeping, front office. So I believe having a degree, this is very good, but at the same time, vocational training program is a must in order to make sure that our Saudization level is increasing. Now, the third one comes alignment with stakeholders, with other stakeholders. So Minister of Tourism is doing a great job in providing many courses for employees in the private sector. However, I see there is a gap between what Ministry of Tourism is offering and what's the market needs or what's the needs of international hotels. I give an example. Now, with the brilliant courses that Ministry of Tourism are sending students to study abroad, short courses, 4 days, 3 days, you see someone working in finance in a hotel applying for a customer service. And when you ask that person, why did you go for a customer service in Switzerland or in London? They tell you, I checked the portal of Ministry of Tourism and they found this course, so that's why I applied for it. Does she really need it? Or do you think that person is really needed? Is this a priority? Is this good for the organization? Maybe not, because people, they want to go and it's good to go and have exposure in an international institute. But is this helping the organization? And many people, they go and do master degree or they go and take short courses, and when they come back, they ask a common question. What changes did this course do to my career? They will go back. The hotel will remain them in their same capacity, because the course probably that they took is not related directly to the development of that person, right? So when Minister of Tourism do alignment with other key players in the private sector in Saudi Arabia, for example, just imagine that they coordinate with all international operators and tell them, tell us what areas you need to develop your employees, and recommend some of your employees who are waiting for certain development and who you want to strengthen them in certain area. And then there will be alignment. Those students or those employees, they will go abroad, they will take the required courses that will benefit their organization, and they will come back and they will continue. This is in summary my three.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. And I think what is important to take from this is that back in 2020, 2022 even, the industry was suffering in terms of awareness in the Saudi market. So not a lot of Saudi nationals were actually considering hospitality or tourism at large as a potential career pathway. And what the Ministry of Tourism has done was to, phase one, to really build that industry awareness by launching short programs, exciting different audiences, not just those that were maybe interested in service, but people from different paths of life, engineers, finance, even we've had in our campuses, we had lawyers coming to experience a program for a new industry. The way we call it, no tourism is the new oil, and they're very excited. I think we're right now at the moment where, as you said, we need to get all these stakeholders around the table, really understand what's the next step, and how do we fill that gap that today we see in the industry. Demand versus offer. As I've mentioned, we're talking about massive number of people that will have to be employed in this industry, and not just employed, trained, and as well retained. We know at some point you'll have a massive entry from different other type of hospitality companies, such as luxury retail and any other customer-facing type of industry, which, by the way, the first place they're looking at to poach talent is the hospitality industry, and probably Paul can validate that. But maybe just to build on what Mohammed said, and I will take the next question to you, Imran. Currently, you're in charge of the massive project. I've mentioned over 40 hotel properties, 18 residencies, working with a lot of international brands that I'm sure one of their first priorities on the agenda is, okay, I'm coming in, but do you have enough people, trained talent, that can actually step in and secure the level of services that my brand should deliver in the market? How do you cope with what's happening in the market, and why, and how do you think we should approach collectively this very important topic, which is, let's sit down, understand what are the needs, develop programs as per those needs, and then make sure that we have the right people in the industry.
Let me check the mic. It's okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the question. I'll try to answer in three parts, as you kindly asked as well. So yes, at Diriyah, we are adding somewhere around 5,500, 6,000 keys to Riyadh's supply, most of it luxury, upper upscale and upscale. We are collaborating. We have done announcements of 37 international brands already. We've been working with them since 2019, 2020. So it's our 6th year that we have been collaborating. There's a number of our hotels, majority of them have been under design, now well into construction. We've opened our first asset already in December, which is Bab Samhan, the luxury collection hotel. We're opening 3 hotels next year in about a year and a half time from today, which is Six Senses, Capella, and the Oberoi. So putting things into context of how fast this is going, I think first of all, we have to take a step back and realize that I have never seen a transformation of this scale in my life, in my career, basically. Fast, scale, and a speed at which this is being executed is just phenomenal. Right from when 2030 vision was announced, as if a switch flicked, and everybody has been trying their best in order to bring out the best of the talent and everything. I think everything is lining up very nicely as well. Thankfully and fortunately, we love the way things are set up in the kingdom, the leadership, infrastructure, resources. So we're very lucky to have that already, which many places, many countries, many regions around the world might not have, and we take it for granted as well. But over here, one important element that we also have on our side is the DNA of our people over here. And I say our people collectively, whether they are citizens, residents, and everybody who lives in the kingdom. The DNA of hospitality and being a host is part of and parcel of their livelihood. This is what they've been doing. This is what the region is known for: generosity, hosting people, and welcoming them for thousands and thousands of years. And even if you go to the recent history of Islam, which is just about 1,400 plus years, they have been welcoming, hosting, and looking after people. So being a host is nothing new for this region. Now, coming to your first part of the question, how are we coping with this and the scale and everything else? So we have the resourcefulness, the planning, regulation, the Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Human Resources, National Development. Everybody is aligned to help us, to enable us, basically. And you'll be surprised, Mohammed and I, we were talking earlier, I grew up here. I incidentally started my hospitality career here in Riyadh. Back then, when we used to have, in the population of 300 people working in a hotel, one Saudi, to where we are now, 45, 50% Saudi mix in a population of a hotel. And when we were chatting, I was just asking Mohammed that how was it before 2016 vision, when 2030 vision was announced? And Mohammed was sharing with me that it had reached around 20 to 25%. Now imagine from that time to now, it has already reached nearly 45 to 50% of the proportion. This is how fast this is going. Brands are asking us, and we are asking back from the brands as well, that it's not about they will get a ready-made platter saying, here's a talent, please employ them. It's a collaborative effort, and we've been doing that. One great example is when we were opening Bab Samhan, the luxury collection hotel, in December. Out of the total force that we have over there working, it's a 134 key hotel. Of course, in the first year, with the ratio being 2 to 1 key, about 45% of that are Saudis already over the last 6 months. How did we do that? We worked very closely with Marriott at that time. 6 to 8 months prior to the opening, we selected a batch of students, young talent basically, educated them about what's in it for them, how they can grow with us, put them into different Marriott properties, train them, upskill them for specific jobs, not just generic hospitality training that, here you go, just learn everything. We figured out what they're interested in, did a tailor-made training, ready for the day one, and inducted them into the operation. So that was one aspect of doing it. We will be employing around 14 to 15,000 people when we open these 40 hotels, roughly. So we will be working very collaboratively. We are working very collaboratively already with STA, with Ministry of Tourism. Their partnership with Sommet as well, with 100,000 students being educated. It's not just that, as Mohammed said, it's not just about the higher education. It is also about vocational training. It's about on ground, taking them into fold, and training them, being on the ground, on the field, exposing them. But more importantly, bringing out that sense of pride of working in a service industry, representing the country, and representing and being a host to people who are visiting, so they can go back and tell people to come and visit us as well. That's the national pride element of where we are trying to cultivate as well.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And you're talking about 45% of the entire population being Saudis. That's a great achievement.
It is already. I mean, you can imagine.
And you're very close to your Saudization
5
targets.
months of operations.
Yes, yes. And then talking about Saudization targets, which of course that's a clear requirement, and it's something as well that is very important for the overall hospitality industry here, to really represent that rich cultural heritage that the Saudi people have, as you mentioned, which is already, it's natural, it's there, but how do you bring that into business? I think, Paul, is obviously you have that as one of your tasks. How do we make sure that in all the properties that Accor will open in Saudi Arabia, you need to make sure that a large portion of those employees, team members, will be Saudi nationals. And when we connected last week, you've made a very interesting comment. It seems that we're training a lot of pilots, but not a lot of crew members. How do you feel about it?
That was my line, by the way. But,
yeah.
But just before, I want to mention onions again. So, Mohammed, you mentioned that if you ask someone in a high school right now if they wanted to join the hospitality and tourism industry, they might think it's about cutting up onions and making coffee. Well, my career started cutting up onions. buckets full of onions. So even if you start there, there's still a good career path with you. So I just wanted to make reference back to that. There is certainly a challenge in front of us. And, you know, we have a discussion about alignment all the time, particularly with tertiary educators, whether they're in here, whether they're sending Saudis, very lucky Saudis, I might add, overseas to do 4-year courses. So, you know, I think it's been identified for some years that, you know, we're going to need leaders of the future. They need to have skills. You know, university degrees are the way they'll get a certain amount of skills. Fantastic, great. So we've got the analogy I used was we're creating a lot of pilots for our industry. We're not creating a lot of crew in the back, and we're not creating a lot of people that actually get that plane into the ground. And that's where the real challenge for us is. We've heard the numbers today. It's 100,000, it's 160,000, it's 3 million. They're big numbers which no other country, no other industries ever had to do in the past. Our closest experience would be doing a FIFA World Cup in one of the neighbours. Most recently, where you're putting 3,500 people together for a period of time, and it's a challenge, you know, from a social point of view, from a business point of view, all those sort of things. So we're aware in a very small way the challenges that creates. And you know, while it's easy to talk about, you know, we're missing that gap in the middle where, you know, basically out of the 100,000, 95,000 people are not tertiary educated necessarily. They're the people, you know, filling the plane with bags and getting people out of it crashes. How do you actually get enough interest in that? And my thoughts are that we've shared around quite a bit. We have a very established training module, I guess you could, program that's approved by the Ministry of Tourism, and this is a bit of a sales pitch. Mustafa put this together for the last 3 years. It's called Tamamayas, and it injects people at a very base level. It takes supervisory people and it takes tertiary educated people, and they have a pathway to follow to make sure that they understand what's in it for them. Okay, we thought we'd basically crack the magic cider with that, but unfortunately we are keeping up with our numbers, which is 5,000-6,000 in 3 to 4 years, but that's not going to solve the industry's challenge. So I tried to think a bit bigger when I looked for solutions. And, you know, I think at the moment, Saudiization is a wonderful thing. We opened Novotel Sahafa here with over 50% Saudis, Saudi GM, female GM leading that team, so very passionate. But the reality is I think it needs to be, what we're doing now is saying, if you don't get to this percentage of Saudiization, we're going to do this to you. I think we need to flip that totally around and said, if you achieve this percentage of Saudiization, we're going to do this for you, meaning a government incentive or sort of thing. So, you know, I think from an owner's point of view, from an operator's point of view, whether it be international, whether it be local, if there's an incentive to put some more money in your pocket, as well as going through this mass commitment and challenge of training and training and training, then that's a way future. That's a 10-year project for us to do. And not only will it solve some of the challenges with mindlessly training people that may or may not like the industry, we also use an incentive for the individual. So if you come into the industry, you spend 12 months working your way through, then there's an incentive for you and your family. If you make it to 3 or 5 years, then there's another incentive. It doesn't have to be hundreds and thousands of dollars. It's just a reason to stay there, a reason for us to keep connecting and try and get through those bumps that everyone has when they start a new role. So I think there's a piece to play for the institution, the training, the universities, most definitely. There's also a piece to say, if we flip that government dictate round to a positive, to an incentive that everyone can enjoy, and if you don't enjoy it, if it doesn't happen, then you pay the price. You know, and that's real, it's honest, and it's very, very sustainable.
But I do believe that should be an entry point, but I don't think on the long term that will create a very sustainable pipeline of talent. I think to just raise the awareness for the industry to attract as many people as possible now when it's needed could work. But I think ultimately, in Imran, you've mentioned something, it's about the pride and about serving tourists and the people coming to visit Saudi Arabia. How would you instill that? And I think it's a question for all of you, because it is important to really go on that emotional pathway, to really make everyone understand that it's not just service to you and your family. That could obviously generate additional benefits, but it's a service for your country. And you're putting your country on the map, and you, as the guardian of that experience, you have the opportunity to really create such a wonderful experience for the tourists and everyone that will come and visit Saudi Arabia. How do we integrate that and when? I think it's even more important because we might already do it, but I think it's very important to understand when should we integrate those specific elements.
I think at a very early stage, right? I mean, Mohammed touched on it earlier, that high school, it goes all the way back as well. So it's not necessarily when we are under the dilemma of what specialization we are going to do or what graduation or undergrad or post-grad that we are going to go for. I think it comes much before, catch them when they're young, as they say, right? Yes. So it is more about creating that awareness, roadshows, seminar, campaign, national campaign, basically, almost, if I can call it, of raising that awareness, raising that bar, basically. I mean, I'm not being selfish, but I can't help but say that at Diriyah, we are very lucky that we are not just a real estate project, right? Because we are first the birthplace of the kingdom. We are the birthplace of this entire Saudi state history that you've seen, modern history of, I would say, 300 years, and it goes back even more. When people work for us, I have a huge sense of pride. I'm not Saudi, but I have a huge sense of pride that I'm working for a purposeful organization that is making a difference through protecting heritage, culture, history, instilling and reviving the forgotten history. Many people don't even realize this, and many Saudis don't realize that Diriyah was the first capital of the first Saudi state. It was the capital of the kingdom. So we are actually bringing out, reviving all the forgotten aspects of it. Not many people know there is the Diriyah dialect in Saudi language. So we are hugely enjoying that. So that aspect of reviving and showcasing that cultural heritage, historic aspect, and our youth is loving it. I mean, our people who are working with us in Diriyah, including myself and everybody else, we love the fact that we're working with a purpose, with a soul. It's not just a real estate investment or development company. It is something that is showcasing to the world the heritage and the history of the kingdom as well. And coming back to Paul's point earlier, busboy or onion chopping or anything else, we are led by, and Jerry proudly calls himself a boy who started at 13-year-old as a busboy from Brooklyn. And he's leading a company of $64 billion US development. So there is a career path, for everybody as well.
Thank you, Imran.
However, I think what is so unique about our country is you don't really need to lay the ground for the youngsters and the youth. It's already embedded in the culture, in the principles, in the values, be it from religion or from the upbringing. And therefore, just molding this with the technicalities and the requirement, the skills requirement by the market, it will only add and enrich all the good upbringings, the good basics that our youth already possess. So I see this as an opportunity, very fantastic opportunities, and with the young Saudis, with the Vision 2030, is only going to flourish this industry in a matter of no time.
Maybe Yasser, just to continue, we're talking about obviously preparing the right programs, introducing those programs very early on. We're starting even at high school level, summer programs. Someone mentioned as well in the previous session the existence of specific vocational programs as part of the secondary curriculum. It's called IBCP. It's a career progression type of program, which allows students to really pick on a specific industry that they would be interested and test it during their high school time. And then if they decide to really invest in that career opportunity, they can obviously continue with higher education programs. But I think what is important while creating that industry awareness, integrating I would say the sense of pride that Imran has mentioned, making sure that we are talking to this youngster very early on. What about the delivery? Because we're talking about currently a great need across the entire industry, from vocational, mid-level, up to leadership type of trainings, but obviously the base is very important. Mohammed mentioned that we need a lot of frontliners, we need a lot of people in our concierge, in housekeeping, F&B roles. The government is pushing right now a lot of these programs, and there are a lot of participation, including from us, Sommet Education, international brands stepping in and supporting. But do you believe that this is a long-term plan, or at some point the private industry has to come in and establish maybe local expertise centers, import that expertise and support on the ground, getting closer to the employers, getting closer to the market needs?
So I'll approach this from a different angle. I kept hearing the word challenges and market requirements and needs. It's a fantastic business opportunity. It's a gold mine. Hospitality education, which includes as well culinary. The question is what it takes, what's the right approach. So what we need is to have an internationally accredited institutions, such as yourselves, having brands like Les Roches, Glion, École de Casse, brands and schools that are globally have a very solid credentials and deliver the market requirements. So getting an international schools and opening international campuses is one important milestone. And I believe the country is, pulling a lot of efforts and, to attract schools such as yourselves to come and have, hopefully one day, campuses, full campuses, flagship campuses in Saudi. And that reflects on the level of faculty. So we're looking to have, faculty with a profound knowledge and expertise in their industry, all branches of hospitality. We look to have a self-sufficient, sustainable campuses. So less and less dependency on government incentives and more self-sufficiency that, translate all the lucrative and profitable perspective through having a very solid business plan and to gather different stakeholders to invest and benefit from the ecosystem and having campuses in Saudi. And to do so, you have to cater for the market needs. So in order to do so, and not to fall in the trap of silos, the programs has to be developed in collaboration with clients, with Diriyah, Accor, Dan, and so on and so forth. Even Riyadh Airways. So developing a curriculum that cater for the market requirements, for the client requirements. So if you're talking about Diriyah, definitely you're looking for instance, luxury experience, the luxury hospitality. So we're talking, for instance, Glion, if you're talking about mass, Mecca and Medina, Umrah, an institution that use more and more hospitality focus, Les Roches, for instance, and the culinary, of course, École de Casse, and the like. We also not to forget to integrate AI and the new trends in hospitality, which focus on the technology, the Gen Z, I think was every time they changing their names and brand, but it's just to focus on the future of hospitality and the personalization of the guest experience, customizations of services. So this is all revolves around the collaboration with the end user, with the clients, with the intakers. And also, if you go back to the campuses, it's important to have a diversification model, i.e. you diversify in products and programs. So you have vocational training, undergrad and postgrad, and you have to balance. So my colleague has mentioned the need for vocational, the focus on vocational. That's something you would start until you reach to a plateau, and then you start introducing more professional executive education. Moving on, you diversify across products, across the client segments. So B2B, B2C, and B2G, and not to just focus, for instance, solely on government, but you just diversify the background of your clients. It's important as well to diversify geography-wise locations. So focus, for instance, on Riyadh, first years, and then you go spread into other major cities, and then you have the major flagship campuses, and then satellite training centers across. Each and every area has their own customs background that we can leverage and benefit from. And also benefit from the first mover advantage and leverage from the government support, i.e. contribute, collaborate into forming and putting different policies and procedures for tourism, culture, etc. Benefit from PPP programs. I like to add one P, which is people. So we have public-private people partnership in order, again, to cater and improve and improvise the quality of the output, and benefit from all the facilities and funding you get from TDF, Tourism Development Funds, CDF, and alike, DVTC. So the whole ecosystem is supporting, having the hospitality education industry, and that's why I believe it's a fantastic opportunity at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasser. And maybe just the last question. I see the clock already going very, very fast on us. We're still at the very beginning. We still have, again, a massive gap to fill. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. Let's imagine we have them all today. Then we have a phase 2 problem, retaining them. I mentioned in the opening remark, and as well, I alluded to you, Paul, and I think that's a global challenge that the industry has, no? Having to lose professionals, people in which you invested, to other type of companies that are also putting the customer at their core. And here you have so many, luxury, health, even finance to an extent. And maybe that's a quick roundtable just to answer. What will be the retention plan for actually retaining these Saudi-trained professionals within the hospitality industry and within specific properties? Because most probably we'll see people being trained and then jumping from one hospitality brand to another as well.
Okay, I didn't want to jump my go. A very simple answer, and it's probably not as nuts and bolts as we should say, but there's a lot of comments, a lot of use of the word purpose today, and Gen Z that was up here before, he said, people want to, his generation want to work for a company that has purpose or an industry that has purpose. And I don't think it's limited to just his generation. I think as people have grown through challenges in life, they realize that important things are purpose in life. So we and this is a sales pitch again, I'll put Accor has a purpose. In the last 18 months, we make decisions by the purpose. So we're pioneering the art of sustainable hospitality, connecting cultures with heartfelt care. That's what we do. That's every question, every answer, every decision we make is one of those 11 words. And I think if people, talking about retention, if you can touch on the values and the purpose that reticulates around people's minds, then that makes you an employer of choice. We can pay more, we can promise career paths, and everyone can see that, and it's transparent. But if you have an organisation that has a feeling, has a pulse, is culturally aware, is prepared to go out and risk and take some chances, I think people will stick to that. And I think the majority of people that you want to stick with you will stick to you if they have that same purpose in mind.
Thank you, Paul.
I think this is really healthy for the industry. I mean, nothing wrong from jumping from one job to another. I mean, high turnover, this is the nature of business. This is the nature of hospitality. The thing is, it won't be the employer market, but I believe is more and more will be the employee market. And again, that's fantastic, and it means that a lot will be, you know, recruited. A lot will be educated. We will fill classes, and I see only positive side. And this is the evolution of the hospitality, especially when you have a big gap between, you know, supply and demand. So we have to weather this. We have to go through it. The only thing is how to you know, be lucrative and, you know, among the first choices for employees and students and grad.
So for me, I will talk from different angle and from an experience that even happened to me. So we'll talk about training and educational side and how this impact the turnover in the hotels and how to keep the talents. So number one is planning. All hotels, international brands, they have an amazing development courses, but again, it goes back to the planning. I give you a small example. I have graduated from a management training program in 4 seasons called MIT. So the program was, during my time, it was for 2 years. And after the program, I was supposed to hold a certain position. So I did the program for 2 years. So they managed to give me to keep me for 2 years. But after 2 years, I have moved to another organization because after I finished that program, during 2 years, 2 years and a half, many people in that hotel changed, right? Leadership changed. And so they didn't find something to offer me. So they spent money on developing me, but at the end, after finishing the program, I mean, your position that you're supposed to occupy is right now is occupied. So I believe if it was done with planning, I would have been still working with Four Seasons. It's a great company, and I enjoyed my time over there. And you know, SDP, Supervisor Development Program. I believe Accor, Hilton, Marriott, they all have those sort of courses, and it is a progressive training. So you take it, and they tell you you will be involved in SDP for 4 months, 6 months, or 1 year. So the employee, he understand or she understand that she will be involved in a program for 1 year, one for a year, and there are several courses that they have to go and take it, and it is evolutionary. After that courses, you will be, and so the hotel, they choose the person. So after 1 year, you will be promoted to the supervisory level because you have obtained the training program and you're choosing because of potential. So just imagine if Ministry of Tourism with another stakeholders, international
build
hotels,
those career
they agreed
pathways and
exactly to build certain programs. Then everyone who comes from those courses, they will benefit the hotel, and the hotel can sustain them.
And I think very important here as well is that for Saudis entering the hospitality industry now, they have an amazing opportunity to fast track their career. Because of the need of Saudi talent, you would see probably general managers at 26, 28, 30 in Saudi, so this is the time. But again, you have to have that clear, meaningful career pathways with clear touch points to attract me in the first place. So for me, it's clear, okay, I can start and clean a room, but in 6 months from now, I can do another training and I can be promoted. It's not a guaranteed promotion, but you can actually access different streams that ultimately can get you to a GM or if not a leadership role.
Only 2 cents I will add to that is basically we've all talked on behalf of the hotel industry on how to retain. I think we have to become a little bit less selfish and think from the perspective of the talent and make the hospitality industry a little bit broader application of it as well, because hospitality and hospitality management is everywhere where you have a human interaction, human expectation management, memory creation, memorable experiences, and a wider application of that if we let the talent realize that they're not just stuck in, although there's a great career path, but there is a wider application of that as well. Whether you talk about airline, aviation industry, talk about retail industry, talk about healthcare. Healthcare has taken the patient experience from guest experience, basically. And that's becoming big. Mayo Clinic were the first one who started that. And then you go into investment banking, all the wider UNESCO World Heritage Sites. MashaAllah, we have more than dozens in the kingdom. All the tour guides, the Murshid program that the kingdom has. Everybody, right from the holy cities who are receiving people when they come, millions and millions, to other generic commercial entities and cities like Riyadh and Jeddah and all that. I think there's a wider application of that, and if we can utilize and make that talent realize that there's a wider application, there's a life beyond hotel and resort as well, I think it will help out with the overall benefit of the retention as well.
Exactly, you nailed it on the head. I was about to say that, but it's just exactly. So hospitality is not confined to hotels and restaurants. It's cruising business, it's healthcare, it's private banking, it's everything to do with the guest experience and uplifting that. So the market is huge, the spectrum is wide, and that's why it will only add to the turnover. There's a high turnover. And again, I think it's healthy. What we need is just to, pump in more and more students, more and more graduates, and that's very healthy for the country and the economy and the industry, of course.
Thank you very much. I believe we need to close the session. First of all, thank you very much for attending as well, to our guests here for waiting until quite late in the afternoon. I'm just going to go quickly through my closing remarks, and we've discussed very important elements. First of all, exciting our audience, making sure that the message is being pushed through early on in their journey, not wait until they reach a higher education level, but start communicating and start exciting them as early as high school. Get the employers closer to the audience and really leverage that sense of pride that already exists with the Saudi people, as Imran has mentioned. Build sustainable, self-sufficient models that will be able to deliver on the needs of the market and not completely rely on international expertise, but bring that expertise in the market. Make sure that you give them purpose, and then obviously create those career pathways. Let's show them that they can be as well successful in an industry that is absolutely exciting. Thank you very much again. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you. Thank you very much.